Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, finally, we're here at game week. I know I just got out of the game week press of the first one of the season as Texas Tech is set to take on former Southwest Conference opponent, the Houston Cougars, 6 p.m. Central Time Saturday at NRG Stadium in Houston. So not only that, but it's going to be on ESPN. So there's going to be a lot of eyeballs watching the Red Raiders take on the Houston Cougars. Just how big of a stage is this to open the season?
Well, it's a big stage, and it's a very important game. Look, I mean, I would say that Houston is probably like a number 7, number 8 type of a Big 12 team, you know? Okay, so if you don't beat these guys.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, and now obviously it's just one game. It's the first game of the season. You can't get too crazy.
You can't really extrapolate over the
No,
whole
not
season,
too much.
Either way.
Yeah, and sometimes these opening games are pretty indicative. You know, if you come out and you look bad in the first game of the season, the season just, you know, it's not that good. So they need to come out there, they need to play well, they need to look good, and they need to win the game. You know, and this is a good challenge. I mean, it's not playing like the next two opponents, SFA or Florida International. This is a legit good veteran football team, and it won't be any kind of a cakewalk, I tell you that.
Well, what do you think are one or a couple of the keys to victory for the Red Raiders against Houston?
Yeah, there's a couple of things here that I would go with. First off, and both of these are a little bit funny, but look, their punt returner.
He's one of the best.
Marcus Jones.
Absolutely.
He's about as good as there is in college football right now.
Yes.
You can't let that guy get loose because this is going to be I think it's going to be a one-score game.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I do. And that being the case, you let this guy house one or even get it down there close, then you put yourself in real peril there. So I'm not sure how they're going to deal with this guy. I mean, obviously Austin McNamara is a pretty good weapon himself as a punter, but do you kick it away from him? Do you directional kick? Heck, do you even kick the ball out of bounds sometimes, or do you just kick it out there and trust your coverage guys to get the job done?
How about you just convert on third down? Don't have to punt. Don't have to punt.
That's the ideal situation. No doubt about it. So, you know, that's something I'm going to be looking at. And also, this is a little bit different, but you know, Dana Holgorsen, he likes to push Tech around.
Yeah.
He likes to bully Tech. He thinks the Tech is soft.
Or he thought Kingsbury
and
was
definitely
soft,
thought. I mean, he's continuing that though. I mean, he's what, mad because Hokut didn't give him an interview or something like that for the Wells
He's been
job.
talking smack this
Yeah.
week, that's for sure.
So I mean, and I think he's wanting to intimidate the Red Raiders, and you know, there was the fight before the game, I think, up at West Virginia, and you know. And Kingsbury was like, well, that's not who we are. And Holgorsen was like, you know. So listen, but the deal is, this is not Kingsbury's team anymore.
No,
this is Matt Wells' team.
Yeah.
And so it's a different kind of animal. I don't think this Tech team is going to be pushed around or out physicaled or intimidated or anything like that. But it's going to be interesting to see if there's some extracurriculars and some fireworks like that. And what, if any, sort of an impact psychologically it has on the game.
What's interesting is that a lot of those Kingsbury teams were pretty small, you know? I mean, they were really good finesse teams in terms of offensively, and they had some really good skill players, but they were really small. They were smaller than like the Leach teams, and they're certainly smaller than the team now. I mean, this team is big. This Texas Tech team is huge all over the roster. I mean, you look at like some of these 6'4" receiver matchups against 5'8" cornerback matchups. You look at Tech's offensive line, even against Houston's defensive line, which honestly, that's one of my big keys. Is the offensive line has to win the line of scrimmage against Houston's defensive line, which is good, but not that big. So they can try and bully Tech, but I think they're going to find out that's a bad idea with this team. Now, in terms of the psychological warfare that Holgorsen's doing, I took it honestly as him more trying to pump up his guys. These guys over here, I know these guys. They don't care. I think Tony Bradford cares what Dana Holgorsen has to say. I think he'd invite him to come get in a 3-point stance, you know, if he wants to keep talking. I mean, this is a completely different team and culture than the guys that Holgorsen bullied, with a completely different team. That West Virginia team, that whole athletic department has kind of an edge to it that honestly I just don't think Houston has. So, yeah, I get that, and I hope they try it. But I definitely think offensive line, how it does against the defensive line, I'm hopeful. I think that they're going to do a pretty good job, both in the run and especially in pass protection. I actually asked Tyler Shuck about the offensive line today in the press conference, and he said he feels really good about that starting group, you know, about Stormont and Deaton, guys we've mentioned, and that you know, if they give him enough time, he feels like he's got the targets and the weapons to get the ball to, and I agree with that. So, and I think it's going to be, I guess you could say this every week, like whoever wins in the trenches is going to win. But, you know, on the other end of it, you know, Clayton Tune, Houston's quarterback, he has more experience than Tyler Shuck does by a long shot. I mean, he's started like 20 games, almost 20 games or something like that. So, and he can run around a little bit. He has some talent. So if they can put pressure on him, it's going to go a long way towards forcing turnovers and ultimately getting that win, Mighty Joe.
Yeah, and he throws a few interceptions from time to time.
He does. He tries to force it in there, but he does have a big arm. So we'll have to see. You know, it'll be interesting to see. I know everybody wants to focus on this, and I get it. But the former Red Raiders that are playing, you know, Keyshawn Carter, and he's the only guy who's actually in the 2 deep, you know, but you got Tajon Henry. So you have some guys, you know, for Houston that are, as they say, looking for a revenge tour, which, you know, Tony Bradford had a great response to a question about that. It's like, I don't care. I have nothing to say to them. Maybe I'll talk to them after the game, but it's just another college football game, and they're just a couple individuals. We're worried about the team. It's a big college football game. He said he's worried about playing dominating football. So that's what I wanted to hear. So,
Yep.
All right, well, let's get right down to it, Mighty Joe. What's your prediction? Give us a score prediction.
Yeah, 36-29 Tech.
All right, I like Tech 42-28. I don't think it's going to be as close as you're saying, but we'll have to see. All that really matters, though, is the bottom line is get the W. So, Mighty Joe, I can't wait for the game. Great stuff from you as always.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching, and until next time.